All right, let's talk more about healthcare or the lack thereof. It turns out that if someone has myocarditis, you know that pretty much right away after an event that could cause myocarditis. And you could save their life by telling them, hey, you have these markers in your blood. You shouldn't exercise for a few days. It might be kind of dangerous. If someone were tracking for such a thing. Well, a new study shows that a certain booster shot from one company has a higher than normal incidence of myocarditis, and you can stop people from having heart attacks if you track that. Okay, this is a mind-blowing study. We also have another study we're going to talk about in math in just a second. But first one, consider this one on your screen. This is from the Department of Cardiology and Cardiovascular Research Institute in Basel, Switzerland, and this is the title page. It was peer-reviewed, but this is a preprint. They found that 1 in 5 doses of the Moderna booster resulted in myocarditis. 1 in 5. Would you take that gamble? You say, go and get this. We're going to talk more about that gamble in a second. Knowing you had a 1 in 5 chance of a heart inflammation. Now, researchers were studying this booster on 777 people. And here is why this is more remarkable than studies that we've seen that sort of accidentally came upon myocarditis. They were looking for it. I think that John Campbell, who also has a YouTube channel, who I think does a fantastic job of breaking down these studies, he is a medical professional, and he puts it quite eloquently why this matters, why this study is different, and why it's so shocking. So let's watch it. He's absolutely indignant about this. Watch. This unhappiness is an issue. It's a prospective active surveillance study. So they went forward, collected the data as they went on, and it's active surveillance. They were actually looking for things. In the past, what we've had is retrospective passive surveillance. So it's been passive in the past. People have only collected data as patients have come forward to complain about it. And it's been retrospective, looking back. This is a much better quality study all round, and has produced really quite worrying results, really. And this study was industry independent. It had nothing to do with the people that are making the money. Nothing to do with the people that are making the money. This study was not carried out by the people that are making the money. Okay, you're going to see him get even more mad, as an English gent does. Just watch for it. Now, why does it matter that they were actively scanning for myocarditis? Because they wanted to warn anyone who had markers of it in their blood, don't exercise for a few days because you risk a heart attack or a collapse, as we have seen athletes do in recent years. Now, Campbell goes on to say that the prognosis for myocarditis is actually fairly okay. You usually can't heal from it if you know about it. That's the thing, is if you know, you can protect yourself. So this study is out there actively trying to screen for people and detect if they have. What happens is you have these troponins in your blood. If you can screen for it, you can warn people, this is a little concerning, let this go down before anything happens to you. Watch him explain it. So what they did, if people had raised troponins at 3 days after the booster, they said, look, you've got raised troponins after 3 days, and therefore let's get a repeat blood test. Therefore, let's get a 12-lead ECG or other cardiological investigations as the cardiologists deem fit. Take rest and do not exercise, because if you've got myocarditis and you just rest for a few days, good chance it'll just go away, get better. If you go running or training, there's a good chance, not a good chance, but there's a chance you can go into a ventricular fibrillation, into a full cardiac arrest. So the fact that these people were warned is so important. Probably not happening where you are, certainly not happening where I am. So
above, so below.
Most of the media's been
In the air,
downplaying this, like, yeah, it
on the
happens,
ground.
but sometimes that's how, okay, next.
The air,
we could say, yeah, there's a risk.
on the ground.
Let's just screen you 2 days after. I mean, we could also say we don't need COVID boosters, but that's not what they're saying right now. So, there is a way to mitigate this risk now that we know it, but ignoring it is to many people's peril. It shows that a high number of these people were warned in this study because they did, in fact, have those troponins. How high? Well, even according to John Campbell, 2% is a fairly high risk. Watch.
mRNA 1273 vaccine-associated myocardial injury was adjudicated in 22 participants. 2.8%. God damn me. If someone said to me, look, you could have had this vaccine,
Looking into it, Cap.
as I did, and by the way, there's a 2.8% chance you'll have a vaccine-associated myocardial injury, I would have run a mile. I am furious at not being fully informed about this, and you should be too. We've been treated like mushrooms on this, and it's completely unacceptable. It's just...
Human fucking guinea pig. You can use a human guinea pig.
All right, I have to say, I enjoy and I share this indignation. So let's just put this together. The risk of myocarditis is high, but if you screen for it, you can save yourself an exertion-related heart problem. And yet, we do see young people increasingly having these rare exertion-related heart problems without actually getting real answers to real questions. For instance, just this week, LeBron James' son went to the ICU for a heart attack that happened during basketball practice. Do we know if this is vaccine-related? We don't. And if we ask those questions, we're called lunatics. We're not even allowed to ask. And so another thing that this study shows, and then we'll leave it with this, it showed that vaccine-associated myocardial injury was far more common than previously thought, being mild and transient, and more
He was
frequent in
used and
women
treated just like a guinea
versus
pig.
men. Now that's not what we've heard.
Literally,
Right? The
we the
narrative
sheep
is like, oh,
to
this
the
is
elite
mostly a problem
assholes.
for young boys, which I guess they
And their
collectively thought was
experimental drugs.
fine, because young
We
men
actually
are not a
was used
marginalized group.
as test
Like,
subjects
that's fine.
to a biological weapon.
Yeah, that's how,
Will
how
someone
I
be able
read
to
this,
come
because
vote
now that I see this,
for
I
me
have to
having
wonder
heart
about that
problems?
narrative. It's like,
I can't even
it's
get
only
legal
dangerous to young men.
representation because the legal system is a
Right,
piece
is
of
that a
shit
social
and
myth?
nobody want
I'm
to deal
just
with
curious.
it.
Yeah. Why would you not want to know that? Like, if
We've been fucked up by the CDC.
kangaroo meat in their chicken nuggets. We all
We've
want to
been
know
fucked
that.
up by the mad
Why would you not want to
scientists
know something you're putting in your body is potentially bad? Everybody should want that.
who made
Right,
the
he
virus,
talks about how if we know this, which we do
because
now,
the virus
and
wasn't
this is
a natural
small
virus,
study, but it's
it was
consistent with other
man-made.
studies we've covered here, shouldn't that be part of our informed consent? We should know it, be told it before we're asked to
Yep,
take
because I don't
something
want to be
like this, and we
nobody's
can't have
guinea
informed
pig
consent
or
without
nobody's
full
test
knowledge
fucking
of the
rat.
risks. So I'm just wondering if there's some like sexism here as it relates to men. Like, oh, well, you know, if it were, let's say, if it were just a group of, if it's only bad for one race and it's not white people, we would care. Or if it were only bad for, like, you know, but men, let's just tell people it's bad on men and we'll be like, you know, who cares, right? I'm just wondering if there's some sexism there for men. Okay, let's switch gears to masking study. I do want to touch upon this one. This is from researchers at UC San Francisco and Stanford and other reputable universities. Here's the title page. This was submitted for peer review, and the author says that they're hoping for a full peer review soon. What they did was take a recent study that indicated that masks reduced COVID cases in the Boston area by nearly 30%, and they just basically poked a bunch of holes in it. They found that study to be terribly flawed, and in fact, they said they failed to find a notable change in case studies with mask mandates. They actually found that cases increased with mask mandates, and they found that districts that dropped mask mandates first experienced the largest drop in cases. In fact, they also found that researchers had failed to account for prior immunity, showing that people who had been exposed to COVID had lower case numbers as well. Now, this is a statistical argument, and I don't want to sort of drag us all through research methods. You should read it if you like that. I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but I will remind you that studies on masks and viral transmission done before the pandemic had already indicated that masks may be ineffective to stop a virus the size of COVID, and in fact might be dangerous. Here's a study we talked about back in April, which reviewed mask mandates for years. In fact, no, this one reviewed the risks of masks in studies done years and years prior to the pandemic, pointing out that we knew and had known that masks are associated with all kinds of dangerous health outcomes.
So they need money off of knowing that these masks is going to cost a whole bunch of money to put them into existence.
Testicular dysfunction, stillbirth, reduced motor and verbal skills for children, an overall cognitive decline for children born during the pandemic.
Hello?
Yet the media was comfortable censoring mask discussions as anything other than conclusive. Masks work. Recall on this platform that we're broadcasting on, one of two, you can guess which, through 2021 there was a ban against what they called misinformation, including claims that masks do not play a role in preventing
I was banned.
or transmission of COVID-19.
I was banned because I said that fucking mask is a piece of shit, and I was banned for saying that. How can you social distance? That don't make no sense.
Masks actually were not preventing the spread of COVID. Many channels have videos taken down on this guidance, which was the guidance at the time. Now, we can now, according to the terms of service, question the efficacy of masks as long as the World Health Organization says that that is currently the law of the land. So what does the World Health Organization say about masks? Is that setting content rules? Well, here is from their updated guidelines in January of 2023. I circled here the word may. They don't have any health conclusive studies showing that masks prevent a transmission. They just say they may. Like maybe. Like maybe, there's a leprechaun at the end of that rainbow and a pot of gold. Maybe. After 3 years and millions of people wearing masks, now admitting that it was a maybe, that it was all living on a prayer. When Rand Paul was suspended for this, the New York Times pointed to this article in which they declaratively said, no, masks work. They didn't cite any scientific studies. They took it upon themselves to just declare the debate settled by asking medical professionals who agreed with them, basically. This was total BS journalism. It wasn't even an opinion piece. It was just junk partisan writing. Have all of these people and organizations, since we now have updated studies showing that we knew that this was possibly harmful to health in children or was not protecting against transmission, have these people apologized for calling these people crazy?
I want to sue the CDC. I want to sue them. I was
censored.
I was censored when I was telling the truth.
Any humility about it. Now, I have to admit, I'm one of those who oh, so-and-so shouldn't travel, they should, I have had to apologize to my family many times for having been a COVID, narrative pusher for a while. So I can show you how it's done. You have to apologize and say, I wasn't looking critically enough. So that's how it's done, people. If anybody else, CNN, the New York Times, if they would like to apologize and I missed it, please send it to me or link me in your comments below.
Dan Clifton in our chat says it says on the mask packages, don't wear for prolonged periods of time.
No.
Oh, really?
Well, it says it on the packages.
It's in OSHA guidelines, too.
But here, children, wear them 8 hours a day at school and then get pneumonia as a result.
No.
Like exactly what happened to our daughter. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at the Tech. We are live every day at 4 p.m.
Yeah, it's fucked up shit, man. We stupid fucking sheep to the fucked up ass elite. The fuckers that got us going along, get along with shit don't make no fucking sense. Stupid is what stupid does. And we are as stupid as these assholes taught us to be with the make-believe, understand, faith, and hope 5-word program to keep so many stuck on fucking stupid, not thinking for themselves. It's a shame. But I can't make nobody know what they need to know that's already ready for them to know. To know better is to do better. It's a natural art to live by and live in. It's just that we've been taught to be stupid. Literally by the motherfucking elite assholes.